Nika wears sequin tulle dress, Stella wears tulle dress, Eshu, autumn winter.
Oh, Eshu. Eshu was really fierce. More fierce maybe than this picture even. Wasn't it the one on the gravel?
Yes, on the slippy slate stones and the animal rights.
Wasn't Eshu the mouthpiece?
Maybe it was.
I think the mouthpiece might have been from Eshu.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was, for want of a better word, and it's not a good word, tribal. Fascination with the tribal, which Lee was never politically correct. It wasn't politically correct. But I guess that idea of just adding to the politically incorrectness of it all, wild women.
But again, it's super strong women.
Massively strong, scary women.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that show.
From the gut, I guess.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? It wasn't.
Yeah, it was because they came down that ramp and then onto the.
It was really
catwalk.
Unforgiving, hard.
Yeah.
It was one of the harder shows, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There wasn't any. Funnily enough, these two pieces here look quite romantic. But my memory of that show, it's really interesting because these pieces are.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the overriding feeling at that show.
No.
I think I was about a week away from giving birth when I saw that show, and I was a bit like, oh my god,
we were all having children throughout Lee's career.
I sat next to the Untitled,
right,
with the rain show and the big perspex box. I sat next to Charlotte, for that show, and Callum. It must have been Callum. Must have been how old?
About 2 months.
And I remember thinking, that child is going to be damaged for life.
Well,
by this
inspired for life.
And this noise and Charlotte, obviously, none of us knew what Lee was ever going to do, but I remember the thunderclap thinking, wow.
Can't step through it.
Of course, because that's what babies do, don't they? When you put a Hoover on, they crash out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eshu,
we got told off. Somebody came up to Charlotte after that show and told her off. Said, "How could you bring a child?"
This is the whole thing. This was the whole climate around Lee. Was people thinking it was incorrect, and anybody knowing anything about it would have just no shit.
Yeah.
It's provocative, no shit.
Eshu, I remember because animal rights protesters got in the night before.
That's
Do you remember? And
right.
vandalised them.
That's right.
Vandalised.
And Lee did use fur at a time when a lot of people didn't use fur, and at the same time was kind of strangely worried about it. He'd do it and then worry about it.
Yeah.
Or certainly his press people would worry about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess there's a question there about, love of animals and using fur. I don't know.
No, so it's hard to get into that, that debate, to be honest, because I can absolutely see, in the sort of Buddhist sense, one shouldn't kill anything.
Yeah, and for a while Lee was a Buddhist.
Was he?
Very briefly. I think that was something he looked at, when he was struggling later on. But generally speaking, I think he used things because he thought they were beautiful.
Yeah.
And if they worked for him, he'd use them.
I guess if you rationalise it.
There's a lot of byproduct early on. Eshu was probably, I can't remember, what's the date of Eshu?
2000.
That was I wonder if it was immediately pre-Gucci, but anyway, it was pre the days when really there were so many. Once he did the deal with Gucci, resources became extraordinary, and everything was made for McQueen. And every fabric was exclusive to them. He'd drive the fabric manufacturers crazy trying to do more and more difficult things, and the treatments of fabrics. And actually that's the kind of direction that Sarah's really gone in, that kind of surface, the treatment of fabrics and the textures, and that didn't really become part of the story until after the money came in, I don't think. Right. It was part of the story, but it was done in a very kind of make do and men make it up as you go a long way. It became formal, so rare skins, for example, from about 2000.
Yeah, and what sort of things was he pushing fabric manufacturers to do you know?
Well, like the engineering of the anatomical prints. I can't remember the name of the show, the one with the taxidermied animals, natural distinction, unnatural. I'm going to get it wrong. But the engineering of those prints, Plato's Atlantis. Aerial views of everything from kind of moth wings to landscapes, made into a one-off piece that fits a certain girl in a certain way. Because even early on, Lee when he cut tartan. And you know what? It's unbelievable how huge name designers, again, who won't be named, you look at, they do a spotty collection, say, and the spots don't join up, and you just think, wow, you're expecting us to spend £10,000 on a dress that's spotty and the spots don't line up. Lee, right at the beginning, however fucked up, however much he slashed at things, where a scene met, if he wanted the tartan to meet the lines, he would make them meet. Later on, Plato's Atlantis is the same thing, but, you know, times 10 million. Because it's really, really difficult to make those prints work on a garment, on a girl. And it would have been very challenging for the factories, I guess the Navarra, the Gucci factories, caring factories, to make those.
Where was he having most of his stuff made?
A lot of the showpieces were still made in London.
Really?
By lovely people who'd worked with Lee downstairs for years. The big dresses, that was a lot of that was made here.
Did he have to go to Italy a lot?
Yes. Right. Although I think Sarah went a lot. But then, Navarra. I think the factories are in a place called Navarra, where actually Lee's early backers had factories as well. I think it's the ready-to-wear centre. But certainly the Gucci Group stroke caring factories were there. But I think also later on, the ladies from that factory came to Lee.
Right.
So, you know, they'd send things off, they'd do a first fitting, they'd send things off, they'd come back with the ladies, the two ladies. But all of that came, you know, late, and that came with wealth.
There's things written about him not having good relationships with the ladies, the petit man and the atelier.
I mean, he worked with the same people for years, but certainly in London, the same people.
I'm talking about the Givenchy atelier.
I thought, and I don't know, that, I mean, they would have clearly been quite surprised by Lee, because Lee didn't speak French, and Lee didn't dress the way they expected the couturier to dress. But I thought that they respected his abilities, because his abilities were pretty mind-blowing. I doubt, I don't know what Hubert de Givenchy would have been like. You know, I'm sure he's also amazing and was radical in his day as well, but I doubt if he cut at fabric. I mean, Lee didn't need a pattern.
No.
He just got down on the floor and cut things, and I think anybody who does what the petite man do would probably think that was pretty impressive. However, I think, you know, his manner maybe, and his appearance, and his, you know, delivery was probably quite difficult. It was probably quite difficult for him to communicate with
You're
him.
absolutely right. Now you say that, it puts my memory into place.
I think that
I heard that they were shocked and frightened when he got his scissors out.
Yeah.
But there was a sort of respect.
You've talked about that. You've seen him do it. But I think he had problems with the executives at Givenchy, and he never made any secret out of that. Because, he was just openly not very nice about them. Anyway, Eshu was when the Gucci Group deal must have been signed immediately after Eshu, right? No, a bit after.
2000.